come to my favourite part of the whole Evoke project, which is sitting down with Peter Nardi.
Hey.
Peter Nardi from Alakazam, joining me again on another project after Cube 52.
Yeah.
And genuinely, I always want to get your opinion on anything that I do, because there's very few people that are as knowledgeable about everything, because you've been in the industry so long and you've seen so many tricks and you've seen so many routines, and your background is obviously mentalism based, and this is very much mentalism. I can literally take a trick or a product, and I can think that I've come up with every possible idea, and then I'll show it to you, and within 10 minutes you'll go, what about this, what about this, what about this, what about this? And I know when I bought out Cube 52, one of people's favourite sections was when you and I sat down and just talked about the cards.
Brilliant.
So I wanted to do it again with Evoke. So everybody knows what these are. I know you've had them for a little while now. They're, but you've approached it very differently to me, because obviously my focus was the marks on the back. My focus was the fact that you can have them stacked, you can have them think of any word on the quote.
Yeah.
But you've approached this in a very, very different direction, and you've got some really wonderful ideas. And I thought we could have a session on camera and just talk through some of the stuff that we're doing. How's that sound?
Yeah, 100%. So it's very weird. The way I approach things, especially when I'm handed something like this, is I think about effects that I already perform.
Yeah.
Things that I do or have done in the past, and how I can adapt those effects to utilize what these cards offer us. So a few things that you're going to see in this section are sort of classic effects, but rewritten for these cards. Mm-hmm. And there's a couple of things here that I just came up with playing with the cards and using some of the things that are built in. Now, one of the things that struck me when I first saw these was the plus and minus. Yeah. So straight away you've got the plus and minus, which will notify you as to whether the emotion is a positive or a negative emotion.
Yes.
Now you can use that for a very simple sort of divination type effect, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay. Now all you need to do is you need to split your cards into negative and positive emotions. Okay. So we're going to go through and we're just going to split them.
And this is done before you even begin?
Yeah, this is done before you begin. So you start with the cards split like so, and the way you want to have them is you want your positive cards on top of your negative.
One thought, by the way, on this, before you even start, if this is the opening sequence, if people want to get into this in the middle of a routine, Pete Turner taught an amazing oil and Out of This World. Yeah. You could do the Out of This World and then put the packets back together, give them a false mix.
And you're in this position.
You're in this position.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. And remember, even though you have split these cards, you can still show them by just taking a bunch off and then a big bunch off to show a positive, go back, so you don't have to spread them like this so they see all negatives. You just sort of show, so there's some negative emotions like outrage, we got rage, and there's some positive emotions like grateful and merry.
And the other thing is, by the way, with these as well, because the picture only takes up kind of 2/3 of the card, if you spread them out this way, you can actually do this and they don't even see the picture as well. So that's another thing that they can do.
Yeah. And then obviously, because you're in this position, you can do a Charlier shuffle, or you can have them cut or whatever, and all you have to do is spread, find your halfway point or your point where the marks change, and then just recut, and then you're in position. But this is your starting position. You want to have all your positives. So because you've got all your positives here, if you look at the top left corner, you're going to see a plus sign. Okay. With all your negatives, you're going to see a minus sign. So here's the idea. And the other thing here as well is, because we have got, 13 of each, I can now shuffle, as long as I don't shuffle all 13, shuffle down and then switch packets and shuffle off on top, because the order of these 13 cards
Doesn't matter.
isn't important. We just need to know that the 13 positives are on top. So as we're talking, we can say, oh, we'll give them a mix up, and it looks like you're just giving them a shuffle. So now the idea is, I say to Craig, look, Craig, I'm going to turn my head, but I'm going to start dealing these emotions down onto the table. Whenever you want, just tell me to stop. Now, it's very important. I've only got 13 cards, all right? So I don't want to rush through them, and I want you to get a positive emotion. So I say, I'm going to deal down, and I want you to say stop whenever you like, okay? Just with one that you're drawn to. And I'm going to go at a really slow pace when I'm doing this, okay? Giving them time to focus.
And they're going to feel like really impulse to stop fairly early on anyway, so stop.
So do you want this one here or the next one in my hand?
I'll have that one.
Okay, take it, have a look at it. So now, when Craig takes that image, I drop these cards in my hand onto the pile, onto the table. Yep.
Yep.
And once you've looked at that image, I spread the deck. Now, it's very important when you spread now, I'm going to spread a chunk over. And what I'm essentially doing is offering Craig the middle section. Now, what's happening now, I'll say, just put it back for me, Craig.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
So I now know that plus card, somehow you got a minus, I must have had them set up wrong, but that, let's say it was this one, because you've got a minus,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So I must have had it set up wrong, but that minus is going to go, that plus is going to go in amongst the minus cards.
Yes.
Okay? So now the beauty is we can cut the deck. We can get them to cut the deck. It really doesn't matter. All I need to do is spread the cards out and ask you to concentrate on your emotion. Okay. Now, if I have a look up here, I'm going to see that I have minus, 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 plus, minus, 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 minus.
That's great.
So I know automatically this is the emotion you've just chosen.
That's wonderful.
Okay. So just to run through it again, let me make sure I have got these set up correctly. We're going to go through here, so we've got all the minuses, and then we hit the pluses again. So the idea here, remember, we deal down, but we deal down very, very slowly. They say stop wherever they like.
Stop.
Stop, so they take that card. These now go on top, and we're going to give them a choice of the middle cards. So basically they are slipping. Did you ever look at that one?
Yep, I did.
You did. So all we have to do is spread.
And they can cut a couple of times if
They
want.
can cut a couple of times because it's still going to leave that plus within the minuses. As long as you've got a minus either side of a plus card, that's going to be your card.
Yeah.
Yep. There's no other position where you're going to have a plus in between two minuses. Now, obviously, the way to do this is to build up your presentation, ask them to focus on their emotion. One of the ways I've done it, especially if you're sitting opposite someone, is have them hold their hand up. One hand touches their hand. You ask them to concentrate. Now, I can actually...
And you know it's going to be a positive emotion as well.
I know it's going to be a positive because that's what I forced you, so I can start giving you a bit of a reading on the emotion. Now, all you've got to do is look down, and this stands out like a sore thumb, right? You can see that. So you've only got a glimpse in this direction. Now, I know whereabouts it is. So if I hold on to their hand like this, our palms touch, I know roughly where I need to stop. So I can come over here and I can say, I'm getting a feeling over here. Now I open my eyes, put my hand down and drag these cards forward and get rid of these.
That's great.
And then we respread once again. I sort of get it centralized. I know whereabouts I need to stop. At here, I know I need to stop up here. I do the same thing. Boom, I'm feeling it over here. Put my hand down, get rid of these, and then we're left with 3. Now, the great thing is, and this is something I didn't think of, and you threw into a different effect that we're going to talk about in a moment, is because these are marked, now, because I've separated those cards, I can read what your positive emotion
You can
is.
see right there, zest.
Yeah. So I can see what your positive emotion is. So I do the thing again, and I say, look, this is the emotion. In fact, look, I'm going to write something down here. What was the emotion you were thinking of? Zest. What was the card I landed on? Zest, and boom.
That's
I wrote
incredible.
Zest.
I mean, that's incredible. And from a shuffled deck.
And from an apparent shuffled deck, because remember, you are stacked.
But because you're not dealing with an actual stack and you're dealing with just 2 stacks, you can very easily, like you showed, give it a shuffle and make them feel like it's completely random.
Yeah, 100%. And it's such an easy one. And even if you didn't want to read the markings, just by doing the positive negative, you've got essentially just a one-way deck. Even though they're putting the card in exactly the same way, it sticks out like a sore thumb because you've got that plus sitting right between the minuses. And you're ensuring they get a good emotion, so they're not feeling anything negative. So you can really build on that. Now, if you really wanted to, I mean, it's not something that I would do, so I don't think it needs it, but if there was an emotion that you wanted to force, you could force that emotion and have it put back in the same way in amongst the negatives. So then this way, if there's an emotion that you know you've got a brilliant reading for, you know, and you wanted to force it, I don't feel you should. I think you should let them choose the one that they're drawn to. Just make sure you go at a slow pace because you've only got 13 cards. Now, the other thing I would say as well is try and gauge, well, you don't even have to try and gauge, you can count them as they go down, but count as you're putting it down in your head, because depending how many cards have gone down will determine how many here you've got to push over as a block.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Because if I've only dealt down 2 cards, I know I've still got 11 cards that I don't want you to put your card in amongst. Yeah. So I would really go all of the bottom half in that situation.
And have them put it back there.
Yeah. So, and that's the other thing as well. When they've dealt down here, if you don't want to drop these on top, if you've still got them here and say, okay, look at your card and put it back, now you definitely know they're putting it in this section. Now close these, drop them on top.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
So, yeah, go on.
Now, I was going to say, in terms of, I mean, that's amazing in terms of locating the card. And I love the fact that you're not reading what the card is at the very beginning, you're reading it at the end.
Yeah.
And like you say, you know it's a positive emotion, you can give them a reading, and then it's just brilliant. You showed me another location like that from when the deck's in stack, using the fact that these are alphabetical.
Yes.
Could we go through that as well?
Yeah.
These are in stack, that's why I've got these as well. So
Okay.
that,
so with this, the nice thing about this is you will have to, there's 2 ways of doing it. You could do it with your back turned. That's the beauty of this. You could do it with your back turned. But if you were going to do that, you do need to memorize what the emotions are. If you don't want to do it with your back turned, you don't have to memorize them as long as you know what the markings are.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't learnt these markings perfectly yet, so you're going to help me out with this.
Yeah, of course.
But the beauty of this is I can have you cut the deck and complete the cut.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, all I need to know is what the top card is.
Which is
The line is
Sincerity.
Yeah. So I know after S,
Yeah.
the next letter is
T.
T. So all I have to do is I just go through the alphabet. So for ease of use, let's put A on top. Okay. But whatever letter you're on, you just go through the alphabet.
Yeah.
But let's say it was cut and we're on A.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do this with my head turned. All I'm going to do is I'm going to start dealing down cards. Now, whenever you get the urge, just say stop.
Okay.
Now, in my mind, all I'm doing is I'm going A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Stop.
Do you want this one or do you want this one?
I want that one.
So I know that's G.
Yes.
Which will be grateful, is it?
It is grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So You take that card, I can say, okay, look at that card and just focus on that emotion. In fact, put it back when you're done with it, and we'll get rid of these. You can mix them up, you can do anything. So at this moment in time, you've picked a random emotion, right?
Yeah.
And now I can go into the reading and we can do it.
Perfect.
So just
and
by
if you
knowing
don't,
your
if
alphabet.
you don't need to know it's memorized either, because if you know it's a G,
Yeah.
all you do is when they've shuffled, you can take them back. And because it says what the emotions are, you just look for the emotion that begins with a G and you go, right, okay, I'm getting a vibe. I think this one.
Yep.
And you can literally just go through and look for the emotion, but begins with the letter that you know that they've picked.
Yeah,
because there's only one emotion with each letter, you're going to get it correct. So you can use the marks, you can memorize it, or you can do just that.
Yeah, you can do a divination and actually go through it. So that's a really nice way of knowing what their card is from an apparent totally free selection with you not even looking. That's the nice thing. You don't even have to look. You're just feeling down and you're saying the alphabet in your head.
One thing, by the way, while we're on the subject of locations, you and I were with Wayne Goodman yesterday.
Yeah.
And one thing that he said to me, which is I never thought of, there's quite a nice one-way back design with this.
Yeah.
But you can't tell it's one way, because if we go to the overhead cam and you look at your cards here in front of you, you'll see that when it's around that way or that way, Wayne pointed out that you can't really tell a difference.
No.
So if you spread through the cards and you have somebody shuffle the cards and then take one, Pete, if you just take one.
Yeah.
And then look at it and then you tell them to remember it, and now you flip these round and have them put it back. You then say, look, shuffle the cards as much as you want to. You could do this, but you'd have to do through each individual card. But Wayne pointed out to me, if you spread it like this, look how obvious it is.
Yeah.
It's immediate. So you just spread it through and you just immediately know it's yuck, like within a second.
Yeah.
Which is another really nice way of doing it, because you just get that immediately. So from that point of view, they shuffle, they take a card, they put it back, they shuffle again, you just go through, you get the glimpse and you put it down, and now you know exactly the one they thought of.
Yeah, it's a great idea. The other thing I really liked about this is because you're working with emotions, and I know I've discussed this a lot, especially with Mark Spellman when we had the gallery deck out. When you're dealing with images or emotions, this suddenly doesn't become a card trick. It's something different. So if you were to take something really, really simple, like let's say a poker deal. Now, one of my favorites.
You showed me this earlier. This is killer.
Yeah, it's not mine. You know, the method is Paul Gordon's. We released it on the Gold Dust DVDs, and it's a routine. I totally recommend anyone that likes card magic, grab hold of the Gold Dust DVDs or the download. It's phenomenal. But using Paul's method, and there are, if you don't want to use Paul's methods, there are loads of other methods from poker deals out there. You can do a really beautiful little routine. Let me find out. There was something actually that you said as well, where if you're going to do this, say to someone, I've got these cards here, and each one of these are like motivational cards, and each one has got a different emotion on them.
Yeah.
So, Craig, can you do me a favour? I want you to go through them, and I want you to pick 5 positive emotions. 5 positive emotions that are either something that you feel represent you as a person, or alternatively 5 emotions that you feel you would like to feel more of. Yeah. So just any 5 you like, and it doesn't matter what 5 they are. We're not going to judge you.
There you go.
Perfect. And now you're going to have to do the same, but with negative. Now remember, these don't have to represent you. They could be things that you think, I hope I never feel this way.
There we go.
Happy?
Yeah.
Very sure? Okay. So basically, we are going to mix these up. Just give them a good old mix up, and we could get you to cut them. I won't bother, but you know.
Yeah.
In fact, we'll give them another little mix as well, just to mix them right up. So we've got a mixture of positive and negative emotions here.
Yeah.
Now, what I want you to do is just focus on these two cards, okay? And I want you to put your hand down on the one that you feel is giving you a positive emotion, a positive feeling.
That one.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay, so take that one towards yourself, because we're only focusing at the moment on the positive. We're going to try it again. Try and pick two that are giving you some sort of positive feel.
Those two.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, and now we're going to flip it a bit. Which one of these do you feel is giving a negative sort of aura to it? Amplifying negativity. This one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And let's go for, we've done two positive, so let's do two negative.
These two.
Sure?
Yeah. Excuse me.
And we'll go back to the happy place. Let's go back to positive.
That one.
And we'll go for, let's go for one negative. Yeah. And the last one, we'll just deal them out. We'll leave that down to the cosmos.
Okay.
Now, this was the thing. You chose 5 positive emotions. You chose 5 negative emotions.
Mm-hmm.
My aim as a human, as a person, when I wake up every morning, is to try and find the positive in life, no matter what the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're good at it, if we focus on it, sometimes we can draw all the positivity to our lives, and that will be love, grateful, merry, fearless, and trust.
Wow.
And obviously, in the same breath, you can push out all the negativity, which is quitting, indecision, hateful, boredom, and nervous, away from your life.
That is one of my favourite routines on the whole project.
Do you know what? It's so simple. Full credit to Paul Gordon for the
incredible
method. Like I said, there are other methods for poker deals out there. I like Paul's because it just seems very free and fair, and there's nothing really to remember. So to run through how that works, you first of all get them to now that's your choice whether you get them to pick their own, or you could have it already
I do
set.
think it adds having them pick their own out and saying, look, take five, like you did, take 5 emotions that make you feel happy, 5 emotions that, negative emotions.
Yeah.
It transcends it, because then it makes it personal about that person.
Yeah, 100%. So all you want to do is, once they've got those emotions, you square them up, but these always have to be separated, okay? But now you can shuffle. You want to end up with the positives on top or the negatives on top. Depends what way you want to present it. But all I'm doing is I'm just running cards to reverse their order.
Yeah. So
all right.
Yeah.
So now
you could
I know.
do a Charlier as well.
Yeah, you could. You could do a Charlier shuffle.
Just quickly, what the Charlier is, if we go to the overhead cam, just so that people know, it's bottom to top, top to bottom. So you spread a few off.
And then a few from the bottom on top.
Put some from the bottom to the top, put some to the top to the bottom, and so on and so forth. And what it's doing is it's not actually shuffling the cards, it's giving the equivalent of the cuts.
Yeah.
So that if you do the Charlier shuffle, all you'd have to do is spread through and look for where the pluses start.
Yeah.
And
which
then
is here.
And then you cut them one last time, and now you're going to be in the same position where you've got 5 positives and 5 negatives. It feels really fair.
Yeah. So they should be under the impression that you've mixed the cards up. Mm-hmm. Now, in reality, depending how you want to present it, but in reality, you've either got 5 positives or 5 negatives as the top 5 cards and the reverse as the bottom. All right. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to do it exactly like I did and have them focus on positives, what I do is I lay down 2 cards. Now these are both positive because I've got 5 positives.
Yes.
So I tell you to focus on which one you think is positive and draw it towards yourself. You're going to keep that, and we're going to get rid of the negativity. Okay. Now I'm going to deal 3 cards, and once again, remember there was 2 positives plus 3 make 5. So this will be the end of the positives, and I ask you to choose any 2.
There.
Okay, we'll get rid of.
But it makes no difference.
No.
And because of the pluses and the minuses, you can immediately see if
you've made a mistake. But now we're into the bank of 5 negatives. Okay, so I'm going to do exactly the same thing, but this way you're going to be casting away the negative.
Okay, so that one.
And once again, we do 3 cards, and you're going to choose 2 that give you a negative 5. Now, because there's 4 cards left, and we're putting the cards on the bottom, this has now pushed the 2 positives
Back to the top.
back to the top. So now we're going to flick back to positives. Now negative. And now all you have to do is look down, and at this point Paul does an equivocate. I usually perform this as a poker deal, so I say, and the final card we just deal out as if you were dealing poker. Now if you want to, you can say top or bottom.
Top.
Top, you sure?
Yep.
Boom. That means you're getting rid of the negative. If they say top,
If they say bottom.
and if they say bottom, I say, you sure? Okay, we'll discard it. Or you can get them to touch one. Okay, we've got to get rid of one, so just touch one. Sure?
Yep.
Boom. Or we got to get rid of one, so just touch one. You sure that's the one you want?
Yeah.
We'll get rid of that one then. You know,
Yeah,
so
perfect.
you can use an equivocate if you want to. It really doesn't matter. I just deal them out, but whatever you want to do. And now you're just left in that great position where they have all the positives and all the negativity in their life has been pushed to one side.
That is just amazing.
It works really well with this, you know, and all the focusing on positivity and things like that. I think it's a great little routine.
You know what you could do, just as an extra addition to that, when you have them take out the positive emotions, you could start off by saying, have a look through and take out a positive emotion that you feel relates to you in your life more than any other emotion, and put it face down on the table. Now let's say they put grateful, you look at the marks and you know they're thinking of grateful.
Yeah.
Then you say take 4 of the positive emotions, now take some negative emotions. You get to this point where you've got all of these cards on the table, which is incredible, and then you say, but there's one of these cards, one of these positive emotions that you feel like relates to you more than any of the others, and you could kind of do this, and kind of let me do this, let me do this, let me do this, let me do this. Grateful, you're thinking of grateful, and you could kind of throw that in at the end as well if you wanted
100%.
to. As an extra.
Well, that's a lovely kicker.
Yeah,
that's a really nice kicker. And the thing is, because this is quite a long routine, if I was going to do that way, which I think is a great way, and get them to put it down, and then I said, in fact, have a look for another 4 positive emotions. I just need, and then I write something down on the business card and put it down. Now we've got so much time delay between the reveal of
that was written. Yeah, they really will.
Yeah, it's great. So, for method-wise, credit to Paul Gordon. It's a brilliant take on the 10-card poker deal. And it really does lend itself to this. And one thing I do want to stress, I mean, we've got a few more things to talk about anyway, but one thing I do want to stress is there's a lot of magic that we do, just basic card tricks. Think about the tricks that you do that you feel get you a good reaction, and see how you could, maybe some you can't, but I bet there's a lot you can adapt to use these cards, and you change your presentation.
Absolutely.
And then suddenly this great card trick now evolves into something completely different. One of the ideas I was thinking about, and I haven't really played with it, I know it will work in theory, is the old slop shuffle triumph.
Yeah.
I haven't really written a presentation for it, but if you imagine that someone picks an emotion at random, or they look through and they pick an emotion that means something to them. So you want them to have a positive one, really. Now they put their emotion back, and then you just sort of cut the deck and give them a shuffle. Now I'm going to go into the slop shuffle. So your emotion, I presume, was anxiety, unless I've controlled it wrong. But you really want them to have a positive emotion. But now, if you go into the slop shuffle and talking about, you know, how the human brain, even though we try and be positive all the time, sometimes negativity slips in, and when it slips in, we feel like our brain is pretty well messed up. We don't know what way to turn. We can turn up, we can turn down. Literally, the whole brain is a mess. It's only when you can focus and you can clear out all that negativity that your mind seems to be in the right place with the one emotion. The emotion of happiness is the one that stands out.
That's great. I mean, that's amazing. Can we go through the handling for that? Is that all right?
Yeah, sure. So I would, I think this routine for me would be presentation driven.
Yeah.
So I would have to have a story, I would have to work out exactly what my lines are. And I think for me, I would have to force something like, is there a happiness?
There is a happy.
Happy. Yeah, or love. Or happy's nice, I think.
Yeah.
Because happy covers everything. So,
Oh no, I think it might be hateful, but
Yeah,
merry is what you want.
yeah, merry.
Yeah, merry would be a good one.
Yeah, or grateful.
Grateful would work as well.
Grateful. Yeah, so anything like that, we can force. It just say stop.
Stop.
Boom, right there. You take that card, have a look at it.
Yeah. So I've got grateful.
Okay, so he's got grateful, or whatever you're going to build into your patter. The card goes back sort of roughly in the middle. I'm going to control this card now to the top.
You're just doing running cuts to the break.
Yeah, I'm just doing running cuts. So now I've got the card on the top, and all I need to do is get this card on the bottom, and I do it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now the card's on the bottom, and if you want to continue with your shuffle, just sort of do a bit of a milk shuffle here. Just retain the bottom card and shuffle up on top. So it looks like you're really shuffling the cards. And if you wanted to do the riffle, just make sure the bottom card goes down first, and that card's always retained on the bottom. Now, like I said, to me, I haven't written a script for this, but there would be a script here as I'm turning the cards. And I think it makes perfect sense when I say, like, as human beings, we try to be, we try to be grateful in life, or merry or happy or whatever, but sometimes negative thoughts come in, causing your mind to go topsy-turvy. You're thinking one way, sometimes positive, sometimes negative. In fact, sometimes you would think that your mind is a complete mess, with different thoughts hitting you from different angles, some of them positive, some of them negative. So all I'm doing there, sorry, I'm going through the presentation without telling you what's happening. So this card's on the bottom, and what you're going to do is the standard slot shuffle triumph, which means I'm going to spread a few cards from the top, turn them face up, and then take a few cards, another few cards from the top, but taking them face down against the face up. Does that make sense? Then I'm going to turn this hand again, take a few more, turn the hand again, take a few more, turn the hand again, take a few more, turn the hand again, take some more, and then your last card goes on top, face down on the face up pile. Now, when you do that at speed, it really looks like you're messing the cards up.
Does, yeah.
But in reality, you've got two perfect little blocks. Now, you want to keep this moving, because using cards like these, it's like when you've got a casino card in a bicycle deck, and because there's no border, if you have a look from the side, you can pretty clearly see there is a divide in colour. Okay, but in real performance, you're not going to see that, because it's happening very, very quickly, and you're straight away going into this cutting procedure. So now when you're in this position, you're going to cut a small portion, and now you can show that you have face-to-face cards.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the way I do it is to out jog these and now cut a deeper portion, and now I can show I've got faces on both sides.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're showing this quite nice display where cards are facing each other, The backs are facing each other, it's quite messed up. And now, square them up, and you should be able to cut at the natural break of where there's a back against a back. And when you cut here, turn your hands over to show two backs, flip this round and just put it on top. So now, in essence, I've reversed all the face-up cards, so they're now face down. But the one card on top that was face down with a face up is now face up. Your job's done. So now you can put the cards there. They're going to believe that they're still intertwined.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
And then if you can, and now this is somewhere where you can go into a pseudo hypnosis or a pseudo relaxation thing and say, Craig, imagine if your mind was like that at the moment. There was so much negative, so much positive, and you didn't really know which way to turn. But what I want you to do is I just want you to relax, take a couple of deep breaths and just stare at that pack and imagine that the only thing you could sense was merry or happiness or whatever, joyful. Just imagine that's the only emotion in your mind. That's how you feel. Get rid of all the negativity. And if you do that, you'll see that there is only one, emotion to
That's killer.
focus on.
Absolutely killer.
But once again, it's a bog standard card effect, a very good card effect, but a pretty standard one. But I think with the right scripting, it would be a very emotional thing. And a lot of people nowadays are into this sort of new age therapy and relaxation, and if you think positive, you'll be positive, and stuff like that. So something, a routine like this will it will actually click with a lot of people.
It will,
a lot of people will understand what it's about, and a clear mind is a happy mind, happy life, and all this sort of
stuff. On
that
subject, you and I were talking yesterday, and I suggested that one of the things that uses both examples of what you said there, classic card tricks that you can apply to this deck, and also having that whole presentational hook of focusing on positives, is oil and water.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if I just quickly go through a very simple oil and water, just to demonstrate to people at home exactly what I'm talking about, it would look something like this. So, Pete, I've got a whole bunch of cards here, and each one's got different emotions. There's some that are positive, there's some that are negative. Could you do me a favour? Could you take out four emotions, four positive emotions, first of all, emotions that you feel can relate to you. Either you want to feel like that, you do feel like that, and it doesn't matter whether I see them, it's not that sort of thing. So you can just throw them on the table, but we want four positive emotions. Perfect. And now what we're going to have you do, Pete, we've got kindness, love, sincerity, and fearless. I'd like you to take out four negative emotions. Now, these can be emotions that you never want to feel. Maybe you felt them at one time and you've managed to stop feeling that way. It's completely up to you. But four negative emotions. Perfect. So we've got quitting, we've got rage, we've got anxiety and depressed. So we're going to show you the power of positive thought right now, using these four positive emotions and these four negative emotions. Okay, Pete? And what we're going to do, we're going to mix them up, because normally what happens is in our day-to-day lives, our emotions are all mixed around. Sometimes you'll feel happy, sometimes you'll feel sad, sometimes you'll feel upbeat, sometimes you'll feel down. And that goes with everybody, right? And this is an example of that. We've got these all mixed up. But the thing is, if you think positive, and you really do think positive, then what happens is you can separate those positive emotions from those negative emotions, and you can start to focus on feeling happy and feeling all of those positive emotions that you know that you want to feel. But it's a conscious decision that you have to make. And I'll show you exactly what I mean. We'll take all of these positive emotions and we'll put them over there. And we'll have the negative emotions over here, and I'm going to do it again. I'm going to take a positive emotion, and then on top of it, I'm going to put a negative emotion. Then I'm going to take a positive emotion, and I'll put a negative emotion onto it, then a positive, then a negative, and then a positive, and then a negative. And that, again, is how we feel on day to day. Sometimes you'll feel upbeat, sometimes you'll feel down. All you have to do is you just have to focus on pushing those negative thoughts away, and then what will happen is those positive thoughts will rise to the top, and those negative thoughts will just melt away. We'll try one more time. Do you want to hold the positive emotions or the negative emotions?
Positive.
Okay, so you take the 4 positive emotions, and we'll mix them up. You put a positive emotion into my hand. Amazing. And I'll put a negative one on top, and then you put a positive emotion into your hand. Which one's that one? It's well, it doesn't really matter. I'll put a negative one on top, put a positive emotion. I'll put a negative, put a positive, I'll put a negative. And you do this yourself. You've mixed them up yourself. I want you to really focus on feeling positive. Can you do that for me? Really focus on feel positive. Do you feel it?
Yeah.
Turn over the top card. That's a positive. Now turn over the next card. Positive. Now the next card. Positive. The next card. Positive. And all of these negative emotions just melt away.
Yeah,
and
it's great.
It's just an example of exactly what you said, which is taking a card routine, which is oil and water, and just completely changing the premise.
Yeah.
And having something that's far more emotive.
Yeah.
And just for the sake of completeness, I'll quickly go through that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
okay. And then,
Please.
of course, I know you've got lots of other stuff you want to talk about, but if we go maybe to the overhead cam, so you get to the point like Pete did earlier, where you have them take out 4 positive and 4 negative. And I did a 3-phase routine here, and the first phase is Simon Lovell's from Simon Says.
Right.
Okay. So all you do is you put the 4 positives on top of the 4 negatives, and you spread them out like this so they can see negative and positive. And all you're going to do here is you're going to separate the 2 middle cards.
Yeah.
So you're just going to separate the positions of the 2 middle cards, which is easy enough to do. You just literally with your fingers and your thumb, you just pull them apart like that. But obviously people are going to see that. So you do that as you turn down like this, and then people don't see anything.
Yeah.
Okay. Now all you have to do is pick them up, and you're going to deal them into one pile, starting with the left-hand packet. So left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. And you spread them out again like this. And all you have to do now is separate those 2 middle cards again, but face down. So you look for the 4th and the 5th card, which are the 2 middle cards, and you separate them again. But you do this as you gesture. So as you gesture, you do that.
Yeah.
And that large emotion, if you just do this, they'll see it.
Yeah.
But that large emotion of gesturing like this hides the small emotion. But because of that, you can now turn over, and they can see that they've changed, which is just a very nice oil and water.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Then the second phase, you pick up the negatives, and you get a break underneath the top 2. So you're holding them face up. You get a break halfway down under 2. You put these on top, and then you pick up all of the cards above the break. So you're picking up 6 cards. You use them to flip these over, and you put these on top, holding a break, and you're just going to push off 1, 2, 3. So they see all positives, and there's actually 3 cards here. So you're going to grab all 3 cards, flip them face down, and deal them onto the table one at a time. So if you've done that correct, the position check is you've got 2 negatives and 2 positives, and over here you've got 2 negatives and 2 positives. So all you do, and this is a lovely display, you turn and show positive, and then you deal this card down. Now you can't show it because it's positive as well, but I point with this packet so they see that negative emotion.
Yeah.
And it's nice when you're doing this to point out that the negative emotions are black and white, and the positive emotions are colourful. Then I show a positive, because I can show that one, put that down, and again deal a negative and flash that. Now I can't show this because it's negative, so I just deal that, but I show this one.
Yeah.
And then I deal this one, and I show this one. And it feels like they've seen every single card.
Yeah, yeah.
But now all you have to do is you just think positive thoughts, and as you turn it over, you deal off and you show the 4 positives, and then you have the 4 negatives here.
Yeah.
And then the final phase was by John Bannon. And this is a John Bannon sequence for oil and water, and we'll go through that. So you give them the positives, you take the negatives, And have you ever seen this face?
No.
It's so cheeky. It's great. So you genuinely have got the negatives. They genuinely have got the positives. You're basically going to get them to help you do an Elmsley count.
Right.
So they give you a positive, and it's going to look like you put a negative on top, but you're doing the Elmsley count switch. So you push off all of the cards above the bottom card. So you're pushing over a triple. And just like the Elmsley count, you're taking that card underneath. It looks like you're putting one card on top, but you're switching that card for 3.
Right.
Now you get them to put another positive on top, and you can flash it if you want to, but as you pull it back, you get a break like this, so that as you take the next card here, you pull this one back. Now there's no moves, so now you put this one here, they put this one here, you put this one here, and you give it them, and it feels like they've helped you. And now all you have to do is think positive, and they turn over the top 4 in their hands, and it's like they've mixed it, and they're the ones that deal. And then you just take the negatives and you put them away, and you've got a nice little 3-phase sequence there.
Yeah.
That just really kind of is a perfect example of what you were talking about.
Yeah, and straight away, like a little pat a hook is trying to get your negative emotions to sink to the bottom.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. Get them out. So you're just concentrating on the positives. It's such a great effect anyway. But the like we said, it's just stressing. Look at routines that you do, and you can put in an emotional hook that will really connect with people.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
Especially if you're doing things one-on-one or to a small group. It's just a really nice artistic piece of magic as well, you know. But there's some other really nice things you can do with this deck. Is yours in alphabetical order?
No, but this almost is, so just give me a second. Yep, there you go.
Okay, so I don't know if you've already explained this. I know you've explained the fact that this is sort of a Quran setup. That is, have you explained this previously?
I've explained the fact that there's a Quran setup in there,
Yeah. So each set of 5 cards are going to run in the same order with regards to the first card will be a flower, second card a tree, third card would be some sort of mountain view,
then a
fourth card a waterfall,
and then an ocean.
And then an ocean. So the lovely thing you can do here is I could say, Craig, do me a favour, can you just cut the cards and complete the card? I want to start in a random order. Yeah. And what I want you to do is I want you to start separating the emotions. So could you please start dealing 5 piles face down for me?
Yeah.
Yeah, and just keep going. So you got 5, and then just till you got rid of all the cards.
Got one left over.
Oh, yeah, you'll have one left.
Yeah, I'll just put it there.
Yeah, it can go there. So now you say one of these piles will draw you towards it. Mm-hmm. So you can sort of put your hand. Now at this point, if I wanted to, or in a moment, I can turn my head, and I'll tell you why in a moment.
Okay.
But I could say to you, one of these piles is going to draw you towards it. What I want you to do is I want you to pick that pile up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so any pile you like. Yeah. Give them a mix in your hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Take out any one of the emotions and drop the other emotions. Let's get rid of all the other emotions that are on the table.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Now, including these that I hadn't mentioned.
Yeah, these would all go. Right,
okay.
I'm going to leave them there just so we can explain it. Now, the thing is, straight away, I didn't do it because I didn't look at the marks, but straight away, even with my head turned, I would know what group your card is in.
Yes, because of the mark at the bottom. Yeah.
I wouldn't even have to look at that mark.
Oh, wow. No?
No, because what you've done in that dealing process is you've put all the flowers together.
Yes.
All the mountain views together. All the waterfalls together. So I know that you're looking at, I didn't look at the marking, so I didn't know what group was what. But let's say I know you're looking at a sort of mountain view thing.
Yeah.
So now I could go on to do a drawing dupe. Yeah,
that's great.
And just give you a drawing. Now turn it around. Now when I turn around to sort of show you what it is this what you're envisaging? Now I can look down, find out what card it is.
Yep. And then you can add it to the...
Yeah, so just imagine what this emotion is. Bang.
That's amazing.
And basically, for those of you that didn't catch what was happening, I shouldn't have done that, should I?
I'll put them in order while
Go on,
you
you
start
put
explaining.
them in
I'm
order.
pretty quick at this.
Because the deck's in a stack, and this is a very old idea that I use with ESP cards when they're in a stacked order. And that is that if you deal the cards, there's 5 different sets of cards, okay? You've got 5 cards that have a flower on them, 5 that have a waterfall, 5 that have some sort of body of water like a sea or something, 5 that have a waterfall, and 5 that have like a sort of mountain view. Now those cards are in the same order all the way through, so card 1 and card 6 will both be flowers, okay? 1, 6 and 11 will be flowers. So what's happening is when they deal the cards out into 5 piles, and as soon as Craig's ready we'll demonstrate it, but once they deal the cards into 5 piles, flower, whatever, when they deal the next card down, that will be a flower. So what you're going to end up with,
There you go.
okay dokes, so here we go, we're ready to go. So I'm going to do these face up. So we have flower,
Tree.
the tree,
Mountain, waterfall, ocean.
yep, and then when we go back,
Flower, tree, mountain, waterfall, ocean. Flower, tree, mountain, waterfall, ocean. Flower,
Yeah.
tree, mountain, waterfall, ocean. All the way through.
and then the last one will be a
Flower,
flower.
because there's always an extra flower.
So remember, these are face down. So when you're in this position, I can be watching you while you're doing this, right? Now, if I get you to cut the cards before we start, I just have to know where we start.
Yes.
But to be fair, you don't have to get them to cut the cards because everything's so free anyway. But I know the order of these now, yeah? So I know we've got the flower, we've got the tree, we've got the mountain inside.
Waterfall,
Yeah.
ocean.
Yeah. So all I'd have to do is say, do me a favour, pick up any one of the piles. Now, as soon as I see you go in for that pile, and I know you went for the second one in,
Yep.
I turned
You
my
know it's
head.
funny, you know it's waterfall.
Yeah. So I can say to you, do me a favour, can you shuffle those up in your hand and just pick any one out from the middle at random and put it down in front of you? Yeah. Face down.
Yep.
Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. The rest of them just put on the pile. We'll mix these up, or
Yeah.
these can go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these all now go. But I know you're looking at, what did we say it
Mountain.
was? A mountainside, right? So I can say, okay, do me a favour, just
Oh, waterfall, sorry.
waterfall.
Yeah.
Do me a favour, just have a look at the image for me.
Mm-hmm.
And just, is this somewhere that you could imagine yourself there?
Yeah.
I want you to imagine yourself there and you're looking at whatever it is you're looking at. I know some of these have got pictures of flowers on them, some of them have got pictures of sunrise, sunset, whatever it might be. But whatever you're looking at, and then now I can start drawing something, yeah? And I can say, okay, just put your card face down. It's not important at the moment. What is it that you were thinking of? Now, at this point, I can turn round because that's face down.
Yeah.
I've already done my drawing. So I can now be looking at what emotion this is.
Yes.
I can be looking over here.
You
'cause
can
there's,
just look straight there, yeah.
yeah, and you're interested in what's here.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing about what emotion it was. So where did you see yourself? Were you outside? Were you in? You were outside. Okay, what were you looking at? It was a mountain, whatever, or a waterfall. Bang, a waterfall just like that. Great. I'll tell you what, let's go one step further. Can you imagine what this emotion is? Can you imagine feeling what that emotion is? And I'll write something here. For the first time, what were you thinking of? Boom.
Xenophobia.
And it's there.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's really awesome.
But it's so simple because you're breaking it into these groups. They feel as if they've got a totally free choice. They've mixed them up in fact, in their mixing process, they're actually separating everything. They can pick any pile. They shuffle that pile. From that pile, they choose any card. And yet, you know exactly what it is.
One other idea on that, because that is absolutely brilliant. One other idea on this is when you've dealt these out, you've got flower, tree, mountain, waterfall, body of water, right?
Yeah.
If you're doing a routine to 5 people, think about it. You've had them cut the cards to start with. You've done a Charlier shuffle. You've cut again. You know, and then have dealt them out like this. They couldn't possibly think you can know anything.
No.
One idea is to have 5 people pick up a pile. So you start from left to right and you go, can you have a pile? 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 Now each one of you take one of these piles and shuffle them. And then when you've shuffled them, take any card out and put it there. You do the same. So they shuffle. So everybody shuffles and everybody takes one card.
Yeah.
Now, even though they shuffled, they mixed, they did everything, you're in a situation where you can have 5 people look at the images and you can tell each person with no fishing what each image they're thinking of. Right, you, think of the image. Okay, okay, I'm seeing leaves, I'm seeing a petal, it's a flower. Right, let's go for you. And you're just going through them so you know after flower it's tree. So you're an image. Okay, yeah, it's a tree. You can literally tell them every
and you've got
single,
5 people, yeah.
And you've got 5 people that are thinking of random pictures, and you're telling each one of them exactly what they're thinking of.
Yeah, 100%. And that's a great way of doing it. The other effect I want to talk about as well is very similar to that with 5 people taking stuff, but it works from a borrowed, not a borrowed deck, because not everyone's going to carry one of these, but from a shuffled deck. So if you're performing, you drop the cards and they're out of stack.
You showed this to me in the shop earlier on, and you showed it to me and Nemid, and we were both completely fooled. I've never seen this before.
It's great. So let's get into this one. So this effect is based on an effect that I have performed for many years. I haven't performed it for a while now, and I don't know why, because it's such a great effect, but it's a brilliant impromptu effect called Liar's Poker by John Mendoza. Okay. And it works perfectly well with these. Now the nice thing is you can do this with up to 5 people.
Okay.
I would say do it with a minimum of 4, realistically. But 4 or 5, I think this is perfect. They can shuffle, and then basically what you do is you have someone deal out as if they were dealing a game of poker to 5 people. Okay, so they're going to deal out 5 hands of 5. Now, you don't have to know anything at this point, right? So you literally know nothing. So these are 5 separate people. You're left with 1 card that can go away. You ask each person to pick up their pile.
Okay.
Have a look through their pile.
Yeah.
And pick an emotion that either they would like to feel more of, or they would like to feel less of, or something they hope they never feel. Yep. So I tell you what we're going to do for ease of explanation. We're going to turn over every card that's selected rather than trying to remember it. Okay.
So this one would be joyful.
Okay, and then this one would be anxiety.
This one would be grateful.
This one is depressed, and this one is won't go for that one. Let's go for that one, zest. Okay, so they're now thinking of one of these. You've got no idea what they're thinking of, right?
And these can be shuffled as much as they want.
So once they thought of one, you ask them to shuffle it into their pack. Okay. Now the only thing you need to keep track of is what order you collect the cards in. Okay. So
it's best to do it left to right or something.
Yeah, or you can do it haphazardly. If you've got a code in your head,
Yeah.
You know, 1, 3, 2, 4, 5 or something. You could do it in that order. I don't bother about any of that. I take the first pile back from player number 1 or spectator number 1. Second pile goes on 2. I say just drop yours on top, drop yours on top, drop yours on top, drop yours on top. Okay?
And that's super fair.
Yeah.
Because they dealt out, they
Yep.
picked any card,
Yep.
and they shuffled, and then you just put them back, and it's
Yeah.
super fair.
Now, if you wanted to at this point, it doesn't have to be done, but if you wanted to, if I knew what this card was from the markings, I can then do a Charlier shuffle and then get this card back to the top.
Yes.
Yep. And so we're in the same order. But here's the thing, right? So imagine this. They've shuffled the pack. They've dealt out 5 hands. They've all looked at their cards and just thought of one. They haven't taken it out, spun it round, shown you anything else. They've just thought of one of their emotions. Then they've reshuffled the pack, and now they're all piled up here. I haven't got any breaks. I genuinely don't know what anyone's card is.
Yep.
Yet, we're going to find out, and I'll show you how. I'm going to re-deal the cards into 5 hands. Okay?
Okay.
The cards are going to be redealt into 5 hands. Now, what happens here will be different every single time you do it. Okay? If you can see from this position here, pile number 1 doesn't contain any of the chosen cards.
No.
Now, that pile number 1 could contain all 5.
Yes.
You know, so this situation we've got here with the layout of the cards will change every time you do it. But I still don't know.
You don't know? Yeah.
I still don't know anything. But the way I find out is this. I will hold up this pile of cards and I will hold them sort of near the bottom. And the way to do it is to show them to the group and say, look, don't tell me what your emotion is, but could you tell me if your emotion is in here? Spectator number 1 says no. Spectator number 2 says no. Number 3 says no. Number 4, number 5. So they all say no. I say, okay, don't worry. So we don't need any of those.
So they're discarded.
They're discarded. Now I pick up the second pile and I say, can you tell me whether your emotion is in here? And I go to spectator number 1. And they say no. Spectator number 2, they say no. Spectator number 3 says yes. Spectator number 4 says no. Number 5 says no.
How do we know spectator number 3 says yes?
Well, we don't know until they tell us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when they say yes...
Because this is what I'm going to get into, right? Now, because of the dealing process and the way we collected the cards up, because I put spectator number 1's cards in my hand first, when I dealt out the cards again, their cards, all the cards from their hand are the top cards of all of these piles. Okay? So, if spectator number 1 was to say, yes, my emotion's there, it would be this card. It has to be this card. If spectator number 2 says, yes, my emotion's there, it has to be the second card down. Spectator number 3 says, yes, my card's there, it has to be the third card down. Because the third card in each one of these piles was from spectator number 3's original set of cards.
Wow.
Okay, so
Wow.
I'll go into that again in a moment. So spectator number 3 says, yes, my emotion is there. Spectator number 4 says his isn't. Spectator number 5 says his isn't. Now, the thing is, his card is very neatly in the middle position. So whether, usually at this point, I take the top card, put it to the bottom, spin them over, and I know his card, his emotion's going to be this. Okay, now bearing in mind, this has got the back towards him. So I say, can you do me a favour? Can you hold your hand out? And I place this card on his hand. Okay, so he's left there holding that. I get rid of these. Now I pick up these cards. Once again, now look how many these have got. These have got loads in there, right?
Yes.
But remember, it might not end up like this. So I'm going to show it. Spectator number 1's going to say, yes, my card was there. That's going to be joyful. Spectator number 2 say, yes, my card's there. That's going to be this. Spectator number 3 has already got his card, so we know that's not there. Spectator number 4 is going to say yes, so that's going to be his. Spectator number 5 is going to say no, and that's there. So now I can turn these cards over and start pulling out their cards. So I'll go to spectator number 1 and say, do me a favour, can you hold your hand out? I've got a feeling that's yours. And then I'll take this one out and I'll say to spectator number 2, I've got a feeling that, no, I think that's yours. Give that spectator number 4. That goes spectator number 2. These get thrown away.
Wow.
Yep. Now we've only got one more card to find. So we'll show this. They're not in there. Boom. Show this. And we'll instantly know. He'll say yes. So we know it's the 5th card down. Now in this position, I'd say, do you know what? I don't even want to look at these cards. I don't want to look at these cards, but I've got a feeling, now I know it's the bottom card because it's spectator number 5. So as I spread them out, when I'm saying to him, is your card there? I know it has to be there because it wasn't anywhere else. I know it has to be the bottom card. So as I'm fanning them to him, I'm reading what it is, Zest, on the back here. And I say, is your card there? Yes, it is. Okay, do me a favour, just concentrate on your emotion. Hold your hand out for me. And now I just take these cards, start putting them together, start putting them one after another till I get to Zest, which is somewhere, I can't even see it now. That one? No. Was it Zest?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it's that one
there, yeah.
Yeah, and then I put that on his hand and ask him to cover it. So for the first person, I'll say, what was the name of your card? They'll tell me, turn it over, let's have a look if I've got it right. Yeah, bang, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. And then the 5th one, I said, actually, don't tell me the name of yours. And then I get a pad out, write it down. I say, for the first time, what was the emotion you were feeling? Zest. That's what I got, Zest. Let's see if we got the card right. Boom.
That's
so
ridiculously good.
Honestly, it's so clever. Let me just run through that again, just for those of you that didn't really understand what I was saying. So if you imagine, these are spectator number 1's cards, spectator number 2, spectator number 3, number 4, number 5. Okay? Yep. They all select a card, right? So I'm going to do this, right? Mm-hmm. So these are the cards they've got. So you know now they're all in the same order. I'm going to pick them up like this. Spectator number 1's cards, which is grateful. Keep an eye on that. Spectator number 1, their card is grateful. These go on top, these go on top, these go on top, these go on top. Now watch what happens when I redeal out. Right. Now remember, the last 5 cards we dealt were the first 5 in my hand.
Yep.
So they were spectator number 1's. These are spectator number 2's. These are spectator number 3's. These are spectator number 4's. These are 5. Yeah? So whatever card they're thinking of has to be in this position. Yeah. Because these are their 5 cards. If it was spectator number 4, whatever card they're thinking of, they might not be thinking of that, they might be thinking of this. But if they are thinking of this, it's still in the 4th position. They can only be thinking of one of these 5. Spectator number 1 can only be thinking of one of these 5. So whenever they tell you yes, you know what position their card is in.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, that's just killer. That's just ridiculously good.
It's so good. And your little touch at the end of just, naming the final one or writing it down, it gives it that sort of sneak thief edge where you've got that little extra kicker. This one I'm not even going to look at because all the others you're going, I think that's the one that you're thinking of. Oh, I think that. And the last one, you go, don't even tell me what you're thinking of. I'm not even going to look at the cards. Boom. So that is Liar's, or a version of Liar's Poker by John Mendoza, but I think it works beautifully well with these. In fact, it works I think, better with these than it does with playing cards, because at least there's something
And
that
there's
you
more
can,
emotive. And yeah.
there's something you can tap into.
And obviously, you mentioned this at the beginning, but you don't have to use 5 people. When you showed me in the shop, you had 4 people, and you did 4 piles with 4 cards in each pile.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you might not have 5 people.
Yeah.
So you could do 3 people, 3 piles, 3 cards.
The only thing I would say with 3 is there's less choice.
You really want it 4 or 5.
Yeah, 4 or 5. I think choosing 1 out of 4 is a 25% chance of you just getting it right by luck.
Yeah.
If you start moving that up into, we've only got 3 cards, it doesn't seem as impressive. But save this until you have got 4 or 5 people.
Yeah.
That's it. Don't use it if you've got 2 or 3. It's just, I don't feel it will play as strong. But if there's 4 people, and remember, also, you're dealing with a pack that's that big now, rather than if there was 3 people, you're only dealing with that many cards.
Yeah.
That looks like a lot of emotions to be playing about with. And that's a good line, actually. We're actually going to start playing with your emotions. Or you're going to start playing with
that's great.
But that's, honestly, it's a phenomenal trick. If you can do it on 4 or 5 people, this will.
It's almost like it's made for this pack.
100%. And it's one of those effects that I used to perform many years ago, haven't performed it for years, and thinking about it again for this, I'm just thinking, why don't I perform that anymore? It's such a killer piece of mentalism. It really is, from a borrowed, well, not borrowed, but a shuffled sort of pack in play. Yeah,
that's great.
It's great.
It's worth mentioning, I know we're coming to the end now, but one thing that you and I were talking about earlier is, and this is kind of a really interesting concept that you could come up with, bearing in mind you're dealing with a deck of, you're dealing with cards here that are by their very nature alphabetical in order.
Yeah.
So because they're alphabetical, because there's 26 emotions, and because there is a different starting letter of each emotion, what you have is you basically have the 26 letters of the alphabet.
Yeah.
So you and I were talking about having something like digital force bag, and having a list on digital force bag of like 100 random 4-letter words.
Yes.
And using digital force bag to force one of those words. So let's say the word is, I don't know. Give me a 4-letter word. What you'd have to do is you'd have to make sure that each one of those 4-letter words has different letters.
Home.
So what you would do, there'd be a small setup for this. You'd find the 4 emotions that make up home. So you've got hateful.
You had ecstasy there.
Did I? Hang on. H-O-M-E, H-O-M-E, H-O-M-E-O. M-E, merry, ecstatic, there we go. Yeah. So what you would do here is you would have these 4 cards set up, and realistically probably the easiest way to force this is to have them on top of the pack. So you've got those 4 cards on top of the pack, and you say to somebody, hey, I've got a random list of 100 4-letter words. We're going to have you pick one at random. Do me a favor, just give me a number from 1 to 100. Let's say they say 26. You forced home. They look at it. You have no idea what it is, and then you give them these cards. And I think probably the easiest way to do this would say, look, take the cards, Pete, and what I want you to do is deal cards onto the table like that. But you can deal from the top, the middle, the bottom. You can put 2 or 3 cards down at the same time, and just stop whenever you want to. Okay, fantastic. And then take those cards that you've dealt and put them in, deal them into 4 piles. There you go. And keep going until you've got none left. Now, what that has done, and we'll go through that sequence in a minute, but what that has done is that has forced the 4 the 4 letters cards. Exactly, and you know where they are. You know where the H starts. It's always going to be cyclical, so it's going to be H-O-M-E in this case. I just need to look for the starting letter is. So now you can say, now all these are different emotions. Let's see, we've got hateful, and the one that you dealt here is outrage. Hateful, outrage. You've got merry, and you've got ecstatic. So you've got two positive emotions and two negative emotions. Can you relate to any of those emotions at all, maybe?
Yeah, merry.
Merry, okay. That's kind of really interesting. And you had a free choice, and you're thinking of a word that was randomly picked.
Yeah.
And I couldn't have known the word. For the first time, what was the word?
Home.
Well, this is really interesting. Look, hateful starts with a H, outrage starts with no, M starts with an M, ecstatic starts with an E. How weird is that? And it's kind of like, it reminds me a little bit of Dave Jonathan's Snaps. The revelation is hiding in plain sight.
Yeah.
And they don't know about it. Now, you and I have given it no thought, but if you wanted to, you could very easily have that list of 100, you could have names. Like if you go onto Google and type in 4-letter word names, you could have 100 names on there. There's 100 names that have 4 letters that have a different letter in each, each one's a different letter. And you could say, hey, I've got 100 names here. Do me a favor, go, you're going to pick one at random, and it might be somebody that you can relate to or not, or something like that. And the point is having this revelation at the end. Now, what you could do if you wanted to, a little bit like Paul Harris's Deep X or Deep Astonishment or so forth, you could actually have them think of a 4-letter word. Think of a 4-letter word that means something to you.
Yeah.
Don't tell me what it is. Think of a 4-letter word that means something to you, that maybe makes you feel emotive for a particular reason. It might be somebody that you've loved or you love, or somebody maybe you dislike or you even hate. It could be something like, for me, it would be peas, because I hate peas. I would never eat peas on my, that sort of thing. So they write it down, you peek it, and then once you've peeked it, you can then bring out these cards and talk about how you've got, each one of these has different emotions. And because they don't know where you're going with this, you can literally just drop down the 4 cards that are going to make up the word that you've peeked. And say, we're going to take out some cards here. I'll take out this one, this one. Actually, no, I'm not going to take out the cards. You can do it. You can do everything. Full shuffle, full shuffle, full shuffle. You've got those cards on the top. And then you have the revelation where the 4 emotions literally reveal the word that they wrote down and thought about. It's
great.
Which is an interesting idea for it as well.
Yeah.
And that sequence, if people want to do that sequence that we use to force those 4 letters is a classic sequence. I mean, I first saw Chad Long do it in shuffling lessons, but I know it predates Chad. But it's the whole idea of having them deal. You give them the pack and you say...
So your forces are on top. Your force letters are on top.
So the 4 force letters are on top. And you give them the pack and you say, start dealing, and you watch them. And after they've dealt 4, you then say, by the way, you can take them from the middle or the bottom. You can put 2 or 3 down at the same time and just stop whenever you want to. But you let them deal those 4 cards first of all. And then when they've done that, they discard the rest. And when you pick up these and you have them deal them into 4 piles, automatically those original 4 cards are going to be on top of the packets.
Yeah.
So then you know that with those 4 forces, as long as you can find the first letter, it's going to run in order from that point. So you can then turn them over and it's going to be in order from that point. So it's kind of an interesting way of actually doing a reveal of a freely thought of word.
100%. 100%. There's one more thing that I want to talk about as well, which is obviously everyone's most probably thought about it, but utilising this with a peak wallet to get information, something that's a bit more personal to your spectator. So let's say that we were going to do, I want you to go back in time. There's a few ways to do this actually as well. And one of the ways would be to have this in stack. Is that in stack?
No, but I could put it in stack if you want.
Can you put it in reverse stack?
Yes, I will. You talk and I will stack this up.
So the first thing I'll do is I would say to the spectator or the participant, I want to try something out. This isn't a trick per se. This is something that may actually deem some interesting results. It depends how we connect. But I want you to take a trip back to your younger days, and I want you to think about, could be a boyfriend or a girlfriend you had, or maybe a close friend you had back back in the day. Not so much now, not someone that's connected to you now, maybe someone you lost touch with, but someone that you felt fondly about. Okay, so I want you to think of that person. In fact, can you do me a favour? Can you write their name quite big and bold on this card? Now, the reason I get you to write the name is the same reason I get you to write things down at school, because as soon as you write something down, it secures it in your mind, and me as a sort of mind reader, it will make it easier for me to pick up on that image. So I'm going to turn my head, write it down. When you're done, drop it into the palm of my hand. That's great. And just in case we need this later, we will slip it away securely in here. So this is going to go into my wallet like this. I bet I've got Will to Read in here, which I have. Take that out. So the card goes in here, like so, into my assassin. What else have I got in here? Let's put it in there.
We're now seeing Peter Nardi's everyday carry, people.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. This is actually Andy's one, so God knows what he's got, what he's got in it. Right, so that goes in there. So that's got their name on it. Okay.
This is in reverse stack, starting with A on the face.
Perfect.
Going through to Z.
Now, I say, so Craig's just thought about this person. So I say, Craig, I've got this sort of little weird set of cards here, but these are motivational cards. They've got things on them with different emotions. So I want you to think about the person, the person that you were thinking about. Have a look through here, and if there's an emotion that reminds you of this person, now it doesn't have to be a happy emotion. Even though you were best friends, you might look through and go, oh, do you know what? I remember that time that he fell and broke his leg. That depressed me. It could be depressed. It could be, I remember that time they were on their BMX bike and they did that jump. It could be fearless.
Yep.
Whatever that emotion is, and it doesn't have to be a pleasant emotion. Maybe you had an argument once or whatever. But whatever that emotion is, let's say it's love, I want you to cut it to the face and just hold it against your chest. So whatever that emotion is, now, at this point, once Craig is doing that, I'm going to reopen my wallet to the peak compartment. As I do, I'm going to get out my business card and I'm going to peek exactly who Craig is thinking about. And my wallet now will go in my pocket. It will go out of sight, and that's always the way I do a peak wallet. Once my peak's done, the wallet's out of sight.
And it's fantastic that everyone's attention's over here while you're taking that other business card out. It completely eliminates any heat on the peak at all.
It does, and this happens in a second. It happens in a split second. You're taking it out, and I'm usually taking out the card while I'm still talking, you know, so the card goes down. So you've now got the emotion held against your chest. So what I want you to do, Craig, I'm not going to look. Just show everyone that emotion, or show your friend that's sitting next to you. Once they've got it, just take that emotion and push it anywhere in the pack. Anywhere in the pack. So it's away. There's no way I can know where it is. And once you've done that, I'll take these back because these aren't important. Now, I know, because this is in stack, and you've given me hateful, the cards you chose should have been, did I get you to do it in reverse stack? I can't remember. But it should be I.
No, G.
G. So I wouldn't have it in reverse stack. I'd have it in normal stack. Sorry. So, yeah, so really it should be, I'd have it in normal stack, so it should be I.
Got it. Right, okay.
But let's say in your case it's G. But all I have to do is peek that, put these away. So now instantly I know you're thinking of the emotion grateful.
Yes.
And I know who you're thinking about. So I can pick this up and go, just think about this emotion. Okay, this what you chose a happy emotion, right? Mm-hmm. So whoever you were with at this time is someone that you're obviously pleased they were your friend, and I'm. Do you know what? This is what I'm picking up from you, and we do amplify and telegraph our emotions. You know, if someone walks in the room and they're not very happy, everyone knows about it, and it's the same with you. You're just amplifying this feeling of gratefulness. Are you thinking of grateful?
I am indeed, yeah.
Bang, grateful. And do you know what? The only person I feel could make you this grateful was John. Is that right? Or
Yes.
Fred or whoever.
Yeah.
Boom. So from something so simple as a stack,
That's amplifying rather than just, it's just making the peak of a name so much more powerful.
yeah.
So much more powerful. And it's an example of using this deck not for the whole routine. You're not doing routines with it. You're using it to just amplify one aspect of, a classic mentalism.
Yeah.
Effect.
So basically, just to show you again, so I did ask Craig to set it up in reverse stack, and I didn't want it in reverse, I wanted it in normal. But basically what's happening here, because the cards are in stack, they're going to cut the cards to whatever emotion they want. Yuck. Okay, let's go for a different one. Let's go sincerity. Yep. But what they're then going to do, or what I'm going to tell them to do, is take that card and bury it in the deck. Now, when I take the cards back and put them in my pocket, if they put them in my hand like this, I take them like this and put them in my pocket. Mm-hmm. If they give them to me like this, I'll just take them and put them in my pocket. But because I see rage here, I know QRS, so RS, I know the next one will be sincerity.
Yeah.
So you do have to do a little bit of memory work, but please don't be scared of memorizing 26 cards.
Absolutely.
It is so simple. Memorizing these is not like memorizing a deck.
I agree.
These will be very easy to memorize. The way I do it all the time is literally, I do them in alphabetical order. I start memorizing them, I go through them, and I just run through the whole pack. And then what I start doing is I start cutting, looking at that, and then getting the next one.
Well, can I point something out on
You
that as
certainly
well?
can.
Because obviously you haven't learnt the marking systems yet,
No.
have you? So here's,
And I haven't memorized those, to be fair.
but here's something you're going to love,
Go on.
right? You're going to love this. I don't think I even told you about this. Right, okay. So you do the same thing. So
Yep.
do the cutty thing and put it in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now pass me back here. We go to the upper camera. The top line here marks me on what this is, which is grateful. But the one underneath marks me on what the next one was in stack. So I can just look at the second line down, fearless.
It was
that
fearless.
That tells me it's fearless. So rather than memorizing it or even looking at the bottom, have them do exactly the procedure you said. Put the cards down on the table. I just need to look at the second line down.
That's genius.
And it's going to tell me the one that you actually thought of. So in this case, you thought of fearless, obviously. So if we just cut here for the camera, this is upset. You put it into the middle, just like Pete taught you. Rather than looking at the bottom, you just put it down here. There it is, second line down, upset.
That's genius. And that, to me, is a killer routine. You do that one-on-one to someone, and they're going to be hooked.
Yeah,
Absolutely
they really will.
hooked.
And the cool thing is, it's upset. So at the end, you're just back in stack, because all you do is you take the upset card, you put it to the face, and you reset, ready to go again. Yeah. But these cards are bought out just literally not to do a whole routine, but just to really it's killer. Yeah. I love that. I do a peek of a person's childhood friend, and that just makes it 20 times better.
100%. And the thing is, even from a magician's point of view, imagine this: if I'm going to get this deck, you've got your head turned, I go through it, I choose whatever one I want, so we know it's not a false. I put it in the middle of the pack. I now put the pack down face down, and
now just by looking here, indecision straight away,
and you know what it is.
I mean, that's real magic.
I mean, you're not really going to get much better than that. No. I don't think. And throw in their old boyfriend's name or old girlfriend's name, and you're onto a winner. I think it will be very hard to follow a routine like this.
Yeah,
it's very personal, and it will really hook them, and it will really connect with them. So that is the double peak.
Double peak. I love that.
There you go.
I love that. Go on. What were you going to say?
I was going to say. So I think the only thing it leaves us to talk about now is
gossip. Yeah, I just want to. really briefly talk about gossip. So I mentioned earlier on in the project, when I wasn't with Pete, that I built the 5 names from gossip into this deck. These are shuffled. So you can go back and look at the instructions earlier on. But if I have these mixed up, and I say to Pete, mix these up and give them a shuffle, and you'll notice that there's 26 quotes from 26 famous philosophers and celebrities and various different people. Go through and pick one that you can visualize. I want you to picture what they look like. And when you've got that person, just shuffle them again and just let me know that you've got somebody.
Yeah.
Because of the principle that I've already outlined, he's only going to pick one of 5 people. Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, Matt Damon, Johnny Depp, or George Clooney. You can only pick one of those 5 because the other ones are made up.
Yeah.
So, but it feels like they're real names.
Yeah.
So, if you get yourself gossip, inside gossip, you're going to have a magazine based on celebrities, but you're also going to have these 5 cards. And these 5 cards are designed, I love the baby gag.
Yeah.
And gossip is such an important trick for me because it was the first thing that I ever brought out with Alakazam.
It was, yeah.
And what you're going to have in here, you get a double-sided baby now?
Yeah, I don't know why.
That. Oh, that's cool.
We obviously come up with something for it.
So you're going to get 5. You're going to get 5 celebrities there, and these 5 cards are, and we'll turn them this way so everyone can see. So we've got the upside camera. So these 5 cards are the 5 celebrities, but with babies on the other side. So what I do, and you can have any system that you want, but I'll go through the system I use. I have, you can have them in your wallet in 5 different pockets. You can have in 5 different compartments. You could have them in a Himba wallet. You could have them in 5 different pockets. But what I tend to do is I stack them up. So you've got Tom, Brad, Matt, Johnny, and George. I stack them up in that order because it's based on names. Tom has the first name. Tom has 3 letters. Brad has 3 letters, and the surname. Sorry, Brad has 4 letters. The surname has 4 letters. Matt has 4 letters. The surname has 5. And George and Johnny have slightly longer names, but Depp is shorter than Clooney. Yeah. Right. So these go into. I tend to put these in my pocket. So if we go to the other camera, these tend to go in my pocket. So if I'm wearing a suit, they'll go into my suit pocket like this. Mm-hmm. So now, instead of using the magazine, you can just have them think of a name. And now you're going to use the fishing system that I developed for Brad for Gossip to get that name. So which would look like this. Are you thinking of one of those?
I am, yeah.
Okay, so think of the, you obviously know what the person looks like, but think of their name, specifically their first name.
Yeah.
Pete's quite a short first name, isn't it? Like 4 or 5 letters, 5 or 6 letters, something like that, yeah? And the surname, is that the same or is it even shorter?
No, that's short.
Yeah, that's it. So immediately, and I'll go through this in a second, but immediately I know that you think of Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
So I can then go into my pocket. I know Johnny Depp is second from the face. So all I have to do is I say, hey, if I told you I had a picture of your celebrity in here, would that be good? And they go, yeah. And you go, here it is. A picture of your celebrity is a 6-month-old baby. It's not a recent promo picture, but you don't look impressed. Well, what was the name of your celebrity?
Johnny Depp.
Yeah, that's Johnny Depp. No, on the other side he looks a bit better, which is just fantastic, right? Now, the phishing system is very simple. There's 2 banks of names. The first bank is spelt with 3 or 4 letters. The second bank is spelt with 5 letters, right? We went through that. So if we go visual representation here, if we go back to the other camera, this is bank number 1. That's bank number 1 there. That's bank number 2, and that's the order in which they're in the pocket, right? Mm-hmm. So what you do is the first question you say is, obviously you're thinking of a celebrity, you're thinking of what they look like, but think of their first name. And you say, it's quite a short first name, isn't it? And when you say that, they're either going to go, yeah, or they're going to do what Pete did, and they're going to go, and at that point, if I get I go like 5 or 6 letters, because George and Johnny are going to be 5 or 6 letters. If I go, it's quite a short first name, and they go, yeah, I know I'm dealing with this bank over here. Yeah. So starting with this bank, if they say, yes, it's quite a short first name, I go, it's like 3 or 4 letters, isn't it? And that's another hit. It's 3 or 4 letters, isn't it? And they're going to go, yeah. And I go, is it 3 or is it 4? And Now, if they say 3, I know it's Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
If it's 4, it's either Brad or Matt. And then I say, yeah. And the surname, it's the same amount of letters, isn't it? Or is it one more? And if they go, it's the same amount of letters, I know it's Brad Pitt. And if it's one more, I know it's Matt Damon.
Yeah,
Now,
brilliant.
going back to this, if they say it's 5 or 6 letters, I go on the surname. The surname's, is it the same or is it shorter? And if they say it's shorter, I know it's Depp.
Yeah.
And if it's the same, it's Clooney.
Yeah.
So putting that all into context here, we'll do it again. Can you think of one of those 5?
Mm-hmm.
That's wonderful. As we go back up to the main camera. So you're thinking of the celebrity.
Yeah.
You pictured what they look like. Picture their name, specifically their first name. Imagine it's written on neon underneath their picture. The first name is quite a short first name.
Yeah,
isn't
it is.
It's like 3 or 4 letters.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 3, isn't it? Or is it 4?
4.
Oh, 4. The surname, is that 4 letters as well, or is it one more?
No, it's 4.
It's 4, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, here's a question. If I told you I had a picture of your celebrity in my pocket, would that be good?
Yeah.
Yeah, here it is. It's a picture of your celebrity as a 6-month-old baby. It's not a recent promo picture, but there you go. Who were you thinking of?
Brad Pitt.
Boom.
Yeah. Great.
And then all I'm doing in my pocket is, if you imagine these 5 are here, so if it's George Clooney, I'm just going to the back. If it's Tom Cruise, I'm going to the front. If it's Brad Pitt, I'm just going second from the front. If it's Johnny Depp, I'm just going second from the back. And obviously, if it's Matt Damon, I'm going into the middle. But for some reason, nobody ever thinks of Matt Damon. Don't know why. But these, you can get these from Gossip. And they're so well made because the images look great.
Yeah.
And the babies on the back look fantastic as well.
And Gossip's a killer effect.
And Gossip's a killer effect.
Yeah.
And what you can do is you can have, I mean, I carry Gossip around with me everywhere, but now you can do Gossip on one table, then on the next table you can incorporate it into this, but still have the same sort of reveal.
Yeah.
So I wanted to point this out because obviously Gossip is an Alakazam item. I wanted to point out that, you know, if you like the idea of doing the baby gag, you can actually get that. These are in stock, right? So you can get these from,
It's great trick.
Alakazam. So, and that's why I built the 5 names in there that I did, because I want Gossip. I do so much. I wanted this to be able to
and to connect. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it gives you a nice sort of segue from one to the other as well, which is quite nice. But brilliant.
There you go. I think we've pretty much covered everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I could probably keep you talking for another 2 hours, but I mean, you've covered so much amazing material. I know everything that you've said is amazing. That 10-card poker deal is one of my favourite things that I've ever seen ever.
It's such a good set of cards, and it's going to open up so many doors for you to be creative as well. Like I said, and like me and Craig discussed, look at some of the routines that you perform at the moment. And think about how you can transition those into using these cards. But even if you're doing whatever piece of mind reading you're doing, having them select an emotion and putting it in the pack and then instantly knowing what emotion they are, it's just another reveal to whatever you're doing. It's great. I mean, it's more of a utility rather than a one-trick deck, without a shadow of a doubt. And I think mentalists out there and magicians, I think you're all going to find a lot of uses for it. It's really good, really, really good.
Pete, thank you so much.
Always a pleasure.
For coming on the project, mate. It wouldn't be as good as it is without you. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and thank you guys for watching.
See you again soon.